Hey guys, how's it going today? Thought I'd do a little video today showing you a little bit of the cutting that I do and what the products are going to be. So you'll see ahead of me I've got a yellow birch, smaller yellow birch. This yellow birch will go to a mill that will chip it up. We take our yellow birch down to 3 inches, and when it goes to the mill they're going to chip it up and turn it into paper products. So, it'll turn into a mash, pulp, and all that stuff, and then eventually get turned into your paper products. So your toilet papers, your regular paper, cardboard, all that good stuff. And I'm just cleaning up around this big tree here. Got a big spruce there. So my yellow birch is what we call random length. So anything between, well, really 8 foot and 16 foot. So it doesn't matter if it's an exact length. It can be, as long as it's over 8 feet, which is our Department of Natural Resources regulation, and 16 feet, which is basically what the mill wants, then it's okay. But the tops can't be less than 3 inches, and that will just allow them to get a good chip out of it so that they can turn it into good quality paper products. So now we're going to jump into this bigger spruce. I'm going to take any guess at how big the diameter would be. I'll give you a second to think about it. It's a pretty good size. According to my head, it's actually telling me that it's 18 inches in diameter. Get rid of that little snag there. Now my spruce will be sent to a mill for sawing, as well as the fir, so that's both of my softwood. And I'm going to take as many 16-foot pieces out as I can. So with the trim, it'll be 16 foot 4 inches. And these are classified as our logs. Our logs will go down to 5 inches. And after 5 inches, we're going to take what this is, which is called a stud. Now, it's called a stud, and we cut 3 different sizes of them. We cut 8 foot, 9 foot, and 10 foot. But it's called a stud because when you go to the store to buy lumber, you're going to buy a piece of stud wood. So you buy a stud for a wall or framing or something like that, you buy the piece of stud wood. So if you take a piece like this here, how many pieces of 2x4 or whatnot would you get out of that? There might be 4 in that one. But we cut them to 3 different lengths because the process we use is called cut to length, which means that we're cutting it to the length that the mill is going to use to do their products. So I'm going to cut a 12-footer out of that log. And then there's an 8-footer down to 5.5. Now it might throw you off a little bit looking and thinking, okay, those tops are a little small, or you think I'm throwing down waste. We're taking the products that we can out of it. No, we're not cutting pulp right at the moment. That's just on my work order. It could be a bunch of things, but where I am, I'm basically in the middle of nowhere, way up in the hills. So there's no cell phone service, anything like that. But, if the pulp's not worth enough, if it's not needed, maybe the mill's got lots of pulp where the mill is, and maybe they don't need it, or just maybe the customers that normally buy it just don't have a need for it. Lots of things can play into that. And what I try to do, every time I cut a tree, I try to come up with what I'm going to cut out of it before I actually hit the ground, except for that case where it was rotted. I do have to buck that rod out to at least 16 inches. And the reason they come up with that spec is they don't want to go too long and maybe cut 2 or 3 feet out of it and maybe miss a lot of good wood, but they also don't want to go too short and just cut a bunch of little cookies out of it. So they kind of came up with the number 16 inches, in between, just to make it work. And that's all I have to do to that is hit my button, my bucking button they call it, and then we go from there. It automatically measures out the length, and I just hit the saw button when it's ready. The yellow birch I'm doing actually is pretty nice. Right there, yep, still got a piece there, and that was 3 inches or better. But it's not real crooked stuff, so it's nice to feed through. Yellow birch is typically quite crooked, but this stuff here actually grew pretty straight. So I don't mind it one little bit. Now you see, one of the things I have to make sure I don't do, you see that little crotch there? I can't take that there. I gotta make sure I clean the limb off and then go up to where it's good and right there. That doubled out to another crotch on the back side. Let me see, let's take this one over here. Oh. So the other thing we do with our yellow birch when we're taking random length is we're trying to get the majority of the best part of the wood without, so like let's say I took that right to there and you see the crotch and just drop that, then that's going to be good wood that I don't want to drop. I want to keep that. But now all I have is the little messy top, the brush, so I can throw that down. And this one's going to be right in my way, so I don't want to leave that standing. I am allowed to try it. Oh yeah, it's going to be good enough anyway. So then I'll come after this larger yellow birch. Now the larger yellow birch we are taking hardwood logs out of. So I'm just gonna, it's kind of a leaner. It's not a real nice tree to cut, but I have to take it. I have a lot of limbs on this side, so it should fall this way. And I give it a shove that way to keep my bar from getting bent. Actually, you know what I'm going to do now? You see all the great big limbs and stuff up here? So I got this great big limb here. See, I can take that. If I snip that off, I can feed more, but I can't feed that and snap. That probably won't come off with my knives. So take that off. And actually that limb I can probably get a stick of random out of it. I'll take that big hook off it. Sometimes it doesn't feed too well because it's crooked or it's got a lot of limbs on it or whatever. Yep, but yellow birch is very stringy and probably the hardest tree that we have to cut. So then I'll take this top off here. And there's nothing in that limb, so I can't take that. So now I have the big crotch right there with two large, where the top splits. So I'm going to cut that off. Binding a little bit with the, there we go. And it won't matter if it breaks and splits because it is going to be just ground up. And that'll give me the bigger part of the stalk that I can handle it quite easily if I need to throw it around or whatever. Now in order to look at that, let's lay that on the ground and look at it. So it's fairly straight from about here up to there. So I can probably get a hardwood log, but I can't leave this big kink in it. So you guys can see the big kink there. I'm going to take that kink out the best I can. It's pretty sound. There's a beautiful heart in that. You know, if you were to saw that, it'd be a nice little color. And then I'm going to spit out my hardwood log. 9 foot 5 inches. There's a burl on the bottom I can see. See, my knives are catching on it. There's a little, I don't know if I can show you or not. Oh no, that's the back side of that limb. So that will take it out of being a hardwood log. And then I can just take it out. I'm not even going to bother feeding it. I can take this off probably by breaking it. Oh yeah, there's my good stick of random. Now it didn't register on my counter, but so what? The most important thing is I'm getting the majority of the wood out of that tree. And a little bit of a kink here, I can't get to the back of it. Try to get that last piece there, but everything catches up. All those little limbs and everything in there, they catch inside the head. So if I was to turn that head around and show you inside of that, you see all the gaps and the holes and everything in there. Back feeding and all that stuff doesn't agree with it very well. It just causes a lot of problems sometimes. So. Big bunch, clusters of branches, but there's no, that one's got nothing in it there. Just throw that to the side, but I think this one's got a good one in it. There we go. And there we have it. So I took that large yellow birch down to that little pile of garbage right there that's no good for anything in products. And then I can continue on cutting the smaller yellow birch and whatever I have ahead of me. So I hope that explained a little bit for you. If you have any questions, put them at the bottom there in the comment section. I appreciate the like on the video, and if you share it, that'd be even better. Get the reach out there and help explain to people what's actually happening in the woods and everything like that. But I appreciate all your support. You guys have a great day.